scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Family. The very people who push panic porn on us day and night don't even bother pretending to practice what they preach. The hypocrisy is maddening, but unfortunately it is not surprising, to say the least. We'll have new examples today, I'm sure. Listen to the Howie Carr Show at 3. Let's see.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Hello, New England. Happy Monday. Thanks for kicking off the start of your week with us. I'm Grace Curley. I have Taylor Cormier on the board, filling in for Jared Diglio. And we have a lot to get to. An exciting weekend. I wanted to start with some props. Everyone here knows I'm TB's #1 fan. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs last night, making it Tom Brady's 7th Super Bowl ring. He's been in 10 Super Bowls, which is already amazing enough, and he's won 7. It was incredible. I loved it. I love how much people hate him. I love how often the people that hate him are woke, liberal, progressive crybabies. And I love how great he is. I like seeing someone succeed and just constantly keep winning.
Boo. Boo. I'm not a Brady guy.
How are you not a Brady guy? You're from New England.
He left us. I know he was mistreated, but he left us, and I think he's got a big ego problem.
He's Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean much.
All right, that's a you problem, Taylor, not a me problem. No, so I think most of Pat's Nation, besides maybe Taylor Cormier, are excited for Tom Brady. And what I really want to talk about, though, is not about Tom. A little bit he's weaved in these stories, but for the most part, we got to talk about how woke this Super Bowl was. It was the Super Woke Bowl. Between the commercials, which I found to be mostly sad and dark and depressing, really emotional. I thought they were overplaying it a little bit. Like sometimes it's okay just to have a commercial be a commercial, but
Super Bowl Sunday.
Every 30 seconds, it was like this harrowing story of, social justice or something. And I mean, then the fun commercials, like the Doritos commercials, weren't that good either. I didn't think like the Will Ferrell commercial was that funny. I was not impressed by the commercials at all. The only one that kind of made me laugh was the Bud Light commercial, but those always make me laugh. I'm a fan of the Bud Light commercials. But the real woke star of the Super Bowl had to be Bruce Springsteen. He came out and did a commercial for Jeep. I guess it was the first commercial he's ever done. So it was a big deal for Bruce. And the commercial is pretty brutal. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. It was very, very preachy.
It was like cringe city. It was
Why does Jeep need to make this commercial?
It was the kind of commercial that makes you go and get another beer because you're like, I can't. And it came late enough in the game where you had already been inundated with just like Black Lives Matter commercials and, we're all in this together except for you white supremacist Trump supporters. And then he comes out with this commercial that is so in your face in it's weird how I'm going to say this, but it was subtle enough, but it was very obvious what he was saying. I mean, saying the reunited states of America, we know what you're getting at.
I think Jeep realized who their audience was, like who's buying Jeeps. A lot of Trump supporters have Jeeps. I don't see too many Jeeps out there with Bernie Biden stickers or anything like that.
So why have Bruce Springsteen do this commercial?
To appeal to everybody else as a big sorry.
Oh, I didn't think of it like that. I know a lot of, upper class white people who drive Jeeps who maybe I thought it was trying to help them with their white guilt.
No, I see people who drive Jeeps as guns and freedom and mud on the tires and
really?
good old
you know what, Taylor?
country down homeboys.
That would be a good poll question, because I think it's definitely like rich white kids who drive Jeeps. That's what I normally see. And
who do rich white kids vote for, Grace?
Joe Biden?
Not from what I see.
Oh, well, you didn't go to a very liberal school in Massachusetts, let me tell you. What I will say, though, is that the commercial's brutal. Let's play cut 12. This is Bruce Springsteen.
It's no secret. The middle has been a hard place to get to lately. Between red and blue, between servant and citizen, between our freedom and our fear.
All right, so Molly Hemingway from The Federalist wrote about this commercial and why it's so terrible. And she said the 3 worst things about that terrible Jeep Super Bowl ad. Let's finish the commercial and then we'll dive into this. This is cut 13.
We can make it to the mountaintop, through the desert, and we will cross this divide. Our light has always found its way through the darkness. And there's hope on the road up ahead.
My first question is, why is he speaking so slowly?
Was that Bruce Springsteen or Joe Biden?
It sounded a lot like Joe Biden, didn't it? He's got that. He's bordering on the whisper.
I don't see red states and blue states.
I see Springsteen states. Yeah, he was really overdoing it with the husky voice. This is what Molly Hemingway said. She goes through kind of Bruce Springsteen's past, which I noticed, Taylor, you pulled a little bit of a flashback. The great uniter, Bruce Springsteen, this is what he had to say about Trump back in October, cut 14.
He's such a flagrant, toxic narcissist that he wants to take down the entire democratic system with him if he goes. If he could reflect on these things, maybe he'd have, but he's such an unreflective person. And he simply has no sense of decency.
Not like all those guys in Hollywood. They're super reflective. They have a lot of self-awareness. That's one of their major talents. But this is from the Federalist piece. Just before the 2020 election, Springsteen called for an exorcism in our nation's capital as dark music played on the radio show. Of Trump's presidency, he said, "I thought it was a bleeping nightmare, but it was true." The 71-year-old Springsteen told Australians that he would leave the United States and move there if Trump was reelected. I'm sure he was also part of the crowd who said he would move there the first time when Trump was elected and didn't. Funny how that happens. But he's hated Republicans for decades, and this kind of breaks it down. But the part that I really enjoyed about this piece was, as one Twitter user put it, "That's all I could think of the whole spot, being preached to by someone who doesn't respect my views, who relishes in suppressing them, having the nerve to pretend to be my community and declare unity. They have no idea how transparently cynical the whole thing comes across." That's exactly how I felt watching it. And then another good point Molly makes is, what made the United States divided until recently, the viewer might ask? Why, according to Jeep, is the country reunited now? And you guys know the answer. The answer is that when the boss...
Super Bowl Sunday.
The answer is Super Bowl Sunday. That's why we're united now. No, the answer is that when the boss and Madonna and Alec Baldwin and Deborah Messing, when they're unhappy with who's elected president, then we can't be united. But when their guy wins, congratulations. Across the great plains of this country, we reunite for the reunited States of America. It's transparent, it's insulting. And then they show like the little chapel and the dirt roads, and it's like, I'm talking to you credulous boomer rubes.
Driving through the winter with his top down.
We can be friends again. Is this how you guys do it? Yikes. We'll be back, guys. We'll take your calls. 844-500-4242. What did you think of the Super Woke Bowl? This is The Grace Curley Show.
Alexander Hamilton said, "Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything." This is Toby from Cape Gunworks. When our founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, there was no question of its meaning. Today, if you have questions, come to Cape Gunworks for some advice, training, or to send a few rounds downrange. We have a fully stocked pro shop with a huge selection of guns, crossbows, archery, classes, rentals, a 15-lane range, and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks, Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
If you're a gun owner looking to keep your guns and other valuables locked up, Liberty Safe has earned the title of America's #1 safe. And Dependable Lock Service in Nashua is the area's best Liberty Safe dealer. They have Liberty Safes in stock now. Find the Liberty Safe that's right for you today. Learn more and see the full collection at LibertySafeNewHampshire.com. LibertySafeNewHampshire.com.
This is Charlie Baker.
Hey everybody, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I may not make it through this story, and I told a story about a fisherman that I met in New Bedford. He's coming off the boat. He was a big, huge man, completely soaked in sweat and salt water.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power, and the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
And he started to cry, and I gave him a hug. He was a big, huge guy. It was like hugging a mountain. And then he said, "See those two kids up there?" And he said, "Those are my sons." They were both spectacular football players at New Bedford High School who were given college scholarships, and I ruined their lives. And you hear those kinds of stories every day.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com. Normally, we give Fredo Cuomo a lot of attention, but lately it's Governor Andrew Cuomo who's been grabbing headlines. Let's take a listen to some of his best moments.
You're an essential worker, so go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of the
No, there are people hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone. The number is down because we brought the number down. God did not do that. Fate did not do that. Destiny did not do that. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. Because I can all see you're in masterful shape, buff even. It has a very nice floral bouquet. A little I detected lilac, hydrangea, tulips. What does it smell like to you? Tulips, yes. Floral bouquet.
Because if that's who they are, and if they are the extreme conservatives, they have no place in the state of New York.
Are we starting to feel bad for Joe Biden? Sorta. Are we going to play his gaffes anyway? Of course.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president, next senator. I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. Just like here in California, here in Nevada. Back in the spring, late fall, late spring, late winter, early fall, anyway, you know what I mean. Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. It says you cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon. We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you.
All right, Chuck, thank you very much.
All right, it's crisp.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920 and not 2020.
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. So I was just listing off the woke celebrities and how now that they're guys in the White House, everything's okay. We can all be civil again and we can have nice things again, okay? Don't worry. Everything's going back to normal. And the mailroom manager sent me a text, and I almost forgot about this story. I saw it over the weekend, and I cracked up when I saw the headline. Hilaria Baldwin back on Instagram after Spanish heritage scandal. At first, she did not issue any sort of apology, and you'll remember that Alec Baldwin, her husband, came out with a very odd video where he said, "Consider the source," over and over again, without actually saying anything else. The sources were legit. I mean, she was lying about being Spanish. She's actually from Massachusetts, just like me. She's a Massachusetts girl. And it seems as though this is not going away as quickly as she thought it would.
We have very few ingredients. We have tomatoes. We have, how do you say in English? Cucumber.
How you say in English? Cucumber? How you say in English? Apology? So the pseudo-Spaniard, as the New York Post calls her, says, "I've spent the last month listening, reflecting, and asking myself how I can learn and grow. My parents raised my brother and me with two cultures, American and Spanish, and I feel a true sense of belonging to both. The way I've spoken about myself and my deep connection to two cultures could have been better explained. I should have been more clear, and I'm sorry. I'm proud of the way I was raised, and we're raising our children to share the same love and respect for both. Being vulnerable and pushing ourselves to learn and grow is what we built our community on, and I hope to get back to the supportive and kind environment we've built together." That is my mom used to say to me when I was younger, sometimes you get in a fight with someone and they'll do something, they'll extend an olive branch. And my mom would say, that's the biggest apology from that person you're going to get. Some people, their self-awareness or their ability to kind of eat crow is not great. And I have to say that her big apology is, I should have been more clear, and I'm sorry.
Consider the source.
It's a step above consider the source. Alec, can I get that one more time?
Consider the source.
Thank you, sir. So that goes back to just the woke celebrities and, the reuniting of the United States of America. But I have so much more, because the level of craziness that came out of this Super Bowl, the craziness should have been, wow, Tom Brady is 43 years old and won his 7th Super Bowl. But instead, the headlines were, Tom Brady wasn't wearing a mask when he entered the locker room. Tom Brady wasn't wearing a mask when he got the Super Bowl trophy. People are nuts. And then my favorite one has to come from the Washington Post. The Buccaneers embody Tampa's love of pirates. Is that a problem? I think it's a fair question. Is pirate racism a thing? Piratism? Is that what we should call it? I don't know, but I think that the Washington Post is doing yeoman's work.
It's occupationism is what it is. Occupationism.
Oh, very true. Very true. And then it says how brutal outlaws became romanticized. Pirates of the Caribbean better watch out, Johnny Depp, because your little franchise there, that's about to go.
Wait, are we supposed to not refer to pirates because they raped and pillaged, or is it because they were so poverty-stricken they had to resort to stealing from the rich in order to make ends meet? I'm confused.
See, Taylor, these are the questions that we need answers to, and I think that in your spare time, you should start looking into this.
Should be more self-reflective?
Yeah, of your occupationism. Occupationism, exactly. Paul, you're next with Grace on the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Grace. I try to listen every day and try to call in as often as I can and support your show.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Alec Baldwin, he's so woke, he's so in touch with his feelings. But if you steal his pocket spot, he kicks the hell out of you in the main road. I mean, and that's the people we're dealing with.
No, that's and it's kind of very emblematic of the Democrats. Like, they're cool when they're happy, and the second that something happens to them, i.e. you take Alec Baldwin's parking spot and he can't get his Rover into the space, all bets are off, And fake news is great when it's about Donald Trump. The Russia hoax, SNL, they can all promote all this fake news. No one ever apologizes. No one ever apologizes. No mea culpas. But the second someone gets an actual scoop on Alec Baldwin's lying wife, now we have to consider the source. See how that works? I hate to say it, I'm starting to think the Baldwins are kind of hypocritical. But there's more. There's more wokeness. There's more. I'm doing an entire segment on this. So if you feel that you have an example I'm missing, call in 844-500-4242. I see you guys on the lines. I will get to you. But first, you got to listen to this one from Eliza Orleans. She's a blue check mark. She said, now this might be the wokest of the tweets I saw last night. Watching the hashtag Super Bowl and seeing so many people in one place is making my heart race. This feels unsafe. And I guess I'm rooting for the team with the racist name over the team with the Trump-loving QB in a sport that still hasn't apologized to Colin Kaepernick. Oh,
we've got to choose between racism and occupationism now.
And Taylor, we gotta break it down. This is a layered tweet. There's a little bit of social distancing shaming going on. There's a little bit of Trump-loving QB there, Colin Kaepernick, social justice, the racist name, Kansas City Chiefs. Eliza has a lot on her plate. Luckily, on Twitter, people remember things. Like, I don't have to go through people's tweets and, show everyone this is why everyone is full of bleep. Other people do it for me. And someone found an old tweet where she said, NYC, Columbus Circle, 1 p.m. Let's celebrate our President-elect Biden and first woman Vice President-elect Harris. NYC is truly amazing today. So when she was celebrating and dancing in the streets on November 7th, I remember that because that was the day I was supposed to get married, but that couldn't happen. NBD, we'll do it. We'll figure it out. It was just funny to me that on the day that I couldn't get married because of COVID, Chuck Schumer and people like Eliza Orleans were out with bullhorns, no masks, dancing in the street. I don't actually know if Eliza went to this, but she certainly promoted the event.
I think, Steve, he was celebrating an evening of a historic day. And
a historic day. And I remember what Lori Lightfoot said about the Biden celebration. She said something like, we all eventually need some relief. I'm like, yeah, sister, I needed some relief. Okay? What about where's my relief? When does my relief come? Only the Democrats get to be relieved. And there's more. There's more. Here's another hot take from the New York Times. In Tampa, Super Bowl celebrations bring super spreader concerns. Rewind a little bit. A rollicking New York City celebration for Biden's win well into the night. Are you guys picking up on any difference there? The Super Bowl's super spreading, but the Biden celebrations, just some good old-fashioned relief, guys. We just got to let it out. You got to have your joy. Tracy, you're next with Grace and the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hi, Grace. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
I just wanted to say, can you believe the amount of performers that were at the Super Bowl halftime show, and it was a pandemic, and ticket holders couldn't go? There were so many people there.
Yeah, they did have those mask things on, though, the surgical, like, mummy mask things. So I think that kind of...
Not all of them, though. Like, that choir that he had in the stands behind him, none of them were wearing masks.
I'm going to out old Taylor right now. I'm going to sound more old than Taylor usually does. And I'm going to say I thought it was very dark. Like, I couldn't see what was happening a lot. It was a lot of fog machines, and there wasn't a lot of, lights. And I felt like my mom when she used to take me to Abercrombie, and she would be like, there's no lights in here. I need a flashlight. That's how I felt. I'm like, where is he? And then he'd move around so fast, and the stage was so big. I'd say, where'd he go? And then he gets on the field, and everyone's dressed just alike. I don't know. It
definitely wouldn't have passed the Charlie Baker smell test of... No. Pandemic regulations.
Charlie Baker would have been disappointed. Then again, maybe they were celebrating Karen Polito's niece's graduation at the Super Bowl last night. So who's to say? There's plenty more where that came from. One of my favorite tweets of the night came from Robbie Starbuck. He said, leftists who hate Tom Brady are so mad they can't mail in fake points to flip the result of the Super Bowl right now. I saw a lot of those people on Twitter. But what's interesting, in our last hour, we're going to be talking to a man who actually last night or yesterday became a Tom Brady fan after living almost his entire life hating TB. So we'll talk to him about that and a little bit of wokeness. And we also have Neil McCabe coming up in the next hour as well. So you do not want to miss that. We'll take one more call before we go to the break here. Bruce, you're next with Grace on the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, Bruce.
Hey, Grace.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to walk out my house. Anyways, yeah. So, I mean, the Democrats, they're the real pirates. And you can't have a football team named the Pirates.
I mean, I'm not. See, here's the thing. This is what amazes me about the liberals. They will hit on something that I could care less. Or no, is it I couldn't care less? I couldn't care less about. I could not care less about pirates. And I'm saying that as someone who was not, into pirates as a kid. I never saw any of the Pirates of the Caribbean. I think maybe I saw the first one because it was a birthday party, and you can't, when it's someone else's birthday, you just have to go.
When is Johnny Depp going to apologize for his characterization of pirates?
Soon, Taylor, I hope. I'm waiting. I've been waiting for a long time now. But my point is, I don't think pirates are particularly awesome, or I don't love the Pirates movies or anything. But when a bunch of Twitter trolls and people from the Washington Post say pirates are canceled, guess who becomes the number one fan of the Pirates? This girl. I'm the Buccaneers' number one fan. Arr, matey. It's like when Marty Walsh told Howie not to have a Patriots party. Do you know who the last person on earth who's having a Patriots party is? Howie Carr. Okay? He literally watches Boston Blackie during the Patriots to spite them. The second Marty Walsh said, you can't have a Patriots party, Howie's like, maybe I'll get some chips and dip and invite some friends over after.
Went out and got a flying Elvis mask.
Yeah, he was so excited. He was like, I think it's going to be a great game. This is what they do. They make things that you don't care about, and suddenly you're like, I don't like pirates, but I don't want you guys taking them away from me.
Grace, I'm making guacamole. Bring some tortilla chips.
Oh, boy. These people are just out of control. 844-500-4242. We will be back on the other side with more of your calls. Who says there's no such thing as a free lunch? Not me. That's because with my friends at Aviva Trattoria, we'll be giving away a free lunch every other Friday here at the studio. I gave away one last Friday, and I'm so excited for those winners to join me in studio this coming Friday. All you have to do to enter is go to gracecurleyshow.com and sign up. I select winners every other week. We go through the menu. We pick out some of our favorites. I always love chicken parm. Taylor, you like the arancini balls and
everything's great. And Italian places, I usually stay away from the pizza because I feel there's so much more on the menu that is just of a greater variety. But the pizza here is to die for.
It's so
excellent.
Yummy. It goes like that. And they have a lot of great apps. And the great part is, like Taylor said it, whether you like seafood or pasta or whatever your taste is, they have everything. So if you stop by there and you have a picky eater in the family, they're going to find something they like. They also have 4 convenient locations in Marlborough, Maynard, Wrentham, and Westford, and a new one coming to Malden. So takeout is available too if you'd like to support them that way. To enter to win the Aviva VIP lunch, a lot of people ask me this. And they say, I want to enter, but I don't know. You just go to gracecurleyshow.com and it's going to pop right down. All you have to do is enter your email and you're in for the contest. You'll be put in the bucket. Go to gracecurleyshow.com. That's gracecurleyshow.com. We will be back on the other side with more of your Super Bowl calls and more sound to get to. The wokeness never ends. We'll be right back. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to The Grace Curley Show. Are we starting to feel bad for Joe Biden? Sorta. Are we going to play his gaffes anyway? Of course.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president, next senator. I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. Just like here in California, here in Nevada. Back in the spring, late fall, late spring, late winter, early fall, anyway, you know what I mean. Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. It says you cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon.
We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's crisp.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920 and not 2020.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story about driving back from the Matthews Brothers remote.
I was driving the mailer manager's car, and then she was driving their other car. She had Howie in her car, and I was by myself. And it was a snowstorm, and it was really, really, really bad. Like, I'm talking the worst conditions I've ever had to drive on in my entire life. It was so scary. I was sweating. I don't think I got home till like 3 in the morning. And I was like, I have to come in tomorrow and tell the mailer manager I can't do that again. And when I came in and, I kind of built up the courage to say it, and she looked at me and she said, "You can't do that again." I was sweating. My whole back was sweating. I'm never doing that again ever. So now if there's even like a little bit of snow coming, she'll say to me, "Do you want to stay at the hotel? Or do you want to, what should we do? How should we plan for this?"
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at G_Curley.
Follow Grace on Twitter at G_Curley.
Welcome back to the Grace Curley Show. I have to tell you, I have one more Super Bowl woke, not commercial, but reaction to a commercial that you guys are going to, it just blew my mind. But first, today's poll question is brought to you by the Follansbee Inn. Only 7 rooms left for Grace's Listener Weekend beginning Friday, February 19th. I actually think that's gone down. I think there's 3 rooms left. This is a great Valentine's Day gift. To reserve your room, go to follansbeeinn.com. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Those are probably going to go by the end of today, so I would get on that right now if you can. follansbeeinn.com. Taylor, what is the poll question, and what are the results thus far?
Will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers be invited to the White House?
Well, we found out last night that Biden was pretty much rooting for Mahomes. He didn't say it in that way, but he said he'd want to be passing to or catching from Mahomes, I think, or something like that. I think that if it's part of the norms, he probably will still invite them, yes.
67% say they will be invited.
Unless the mask police who were watching that super spreader event last night put up more and more drama about this, I think Biden will back away from it and say, maybe we'll do something virtually.
Yeah, I think they'll do it virtually.
Now, this is the real story that I have to talk about. You guys know I love Dolly Parton. She has one of my favorite quotes, which is, "It takes a lot of money to look this cheap." It's something I've really based my entire life off of. But she had a commercial last night. And I didn't actually see it live, Taylor. I was in and out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on my phone. I'm not really watching the commercials, especially after the first few were duds. I zoned out. But I guess her commercial was for some product that's all about working. And they used her song 9 to 5, but they changed it up. So here's the audio of what was played in the commercial.
Working 5 to 9. You've got passion and a vision, 'cause it's hustling time, a whole new way to make a living. Gonna change your life, do something that gives it meaning with a website that is worthy of your dreaming. 5 to 9.
This commercial was for a website builder, Squarespace, or it was commissioned by the website builder Squarespace. It was all about people working. And the trolls are upset. This is actually from NBC, though. This is a legit newspaper. News site. Dolly Parton's 2021 Super Bowl commercial is playing a rich man's game. As much as we all love Dolly Parton, it's still disappointing to hear her literally sing the praises of working. I don't know if you guys know this, but Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 is my anthem. As a working girl in 2021, I get up, I want to say almost daily, and I turn on Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. Now, I have a nicer boss than the boss in the song, but I like the line, stumble to the kitchen, pour yourself a cup of ambition. It gets me going. I feel like, okay, here I go, taking on the world. Got my high heels and my briefcase. The fact that they have a problem with her revamping this song because it involves working, is that bad now? Is working not progressive?
I don't know how many millions of people are unemployed across the United States right now, and a side hustle is pretty much your only means of income. That's what she's talking about in the song. That's what Squarespace wanted. If you've got a side hustle like a hobby you can make money off of, build a website around it.
That's a really good point, Taylor. And she's just promoting that.
I thought they were all about empowerment.
Working is now not okay.
Is Dolly Parton part of the patriarchy?
I guess she is. And here's the thing. Sorry, I gotta tone it down. You guys know how I get about DP. Dolly Parton is a legend. She gives away so much money to charity. They're thinking about putting statues of her in certain states. And this is what she's going to get canceled for, is her commercial where they say, working 5 to 9. I'm not saying it's the greatest commercial of all time, but Lord help us.
Didn't she turn down Trump twice for a Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Yes.
She should be celebrated for that, no?
But her reasoning was not political. It was like someone in her family was sick the first time and then something came up the second time. So her reasoning was not, I hate Trump, orange man bad, he's the worst ever, I would never go to that. So they're like, okay, it's decent enough that she didn't go, but she's not going to get that strange new respect for it. Anyway, John, really quickly, you're next with Grace. Oh, sorry, John, we're running out of time. We'll take more calls on the other side. We got Neil McCabe coming up later in the show. So much more to get to. Taylor pulled so much sound, so we're going to have to play a lot of this as the day goes on. Don't go anywhere. This is The Grace Curley Show.
I don't mean to brag, but I'm a great gift giver. My problem, though, is that I always forget about Valentine's Day. Thankfully, the Howie Carr Show has great sponsors that have me covered this February 14th, and they can help you out, too. Flowers are a must, so I'm going to order a beautiful bouquet of roses through 1-800-Flowers. Just going to go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the microphone, enter code Howie, and take advantage of these discounts. Ooh, I can even double my order for even more savings, so she'll love that. Let's see, what else? Ooh, I bought her some new earrings for Christmas. The Kathy Ireland Gem Spa is perfect for keeping those as stunning as they were in the display case. MyGemSpa.com and code word GRACE gets me 20% off. Nice. What else? Ooh, candles. I know Old New England Soap has those Woodwick soy candles to keep the house smelling fresh. OldAnySoap.com. Oh, wow, they have a lot of candles and soaps to choose from. This is going to take some time. Oh, speaking of scents, she's been nagging me to get rid of that funky smell in the basement. Good thing the Thunderstorm Air Purifier is $10 off with code word Howie at EdenPure.com. That's it. All done. Thanks to our great sponsors for saving me time and money this Valentine's Day.
He's the gaffe that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touched them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts.
I get in trouble with some of the things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
We are now, effective today, requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. This salon owes me an apology.
What they do.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, Stefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. hairman.com/Howie.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
What deal can we have, Crazy Nancy?
The Constitution does not say that a person can shout wolf in a crowded theater.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. Chocolate candy, chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. Consistently practice social distancing.
Why does AOC complain that you have not been grooming younger people for leadership?
I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
That was kind of sharp.
I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, I had a hard time getting my ears pierced. I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, Mother Earth is angry. She's telling us.
What do you think is causing this erratic behavior?
I think that the president has always had erratic behavior. I have ice cream in my freezer. I guess that's better than having Lysol in somebody's lungs.
Civilization as we know it is at stake.
I don't drink, but I'm happy to have ice cream with anybody anytime.
Joe Biden accuses Trump of being a racist, but if you listen to Biden's comments, you would agree that he doth protest too much.
If you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say? The first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean.
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
That kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger.
They are beyond the pale, many of those people.
God love you. You've been here all day. My Lord, you may feel like you're being incarcerated.
We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro.
They're going to put you all back in chains. Unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story about the time you got pulled over by the police with Howie in the car.
Howie and I were going on a remote, and I was driving at the time the Howie Carr, which was Howie's face wrapped around this car. And a police officer pulled us over, and he was really just asking a lot of questions about the car. And then he said to me, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And I was like, I don't know, but I didn't think I was going that fast. Then he started talking to Howie, and Howie offered him a book. He said he couldn't take it, but he said he was a big fan. And then by the end of it, it became very clear to me that he had really just pulled us over because he was a fan of Howie and wanted to meet him. To this day, that is the only time I've been pulled over for speeding. And I was not speeding. So I blame Howie for that.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and, Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Hello, New England. Welcome back to the Grace Curley Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I saw a column this weekend. It got a lot of play in the mainstream media. And I think the reason it got so much play wasn't because it's something that really shocked people, but people were shocked at how honest this writer was. Her name is Virginia Heffernan. And the title of the piece is, "What Can You Do About the Trumpites Next Door?" I'm going to read you guys some of these. Feel free to call in and weigh in. I know people are very opinionated on this piece. 844-500-4242. But the piece starts when it snows and this woman's neighbors are kind enough to plow her driveway. That's where we begin. So let's have a little story time. Oh, heck no. The Trumpites next door to our pandemic getaway. First of all, right there, that sounds pretty sweet. I don't have a pandemic getaway. Do you, Taylor?
No. I hope to one day.
Oh, me too. We can, Bernie Sanders, maybe someday you'll have like 4 pandemic getaways.
For the next pandemic in 2024 when Trump runs again.
Exactly. Oh, heck no. The Trumpites next door to our pandemic getaway, who seem as devoted to the ex-president as you can get without being Q fans. That's a reference to QAnon, the conspiracy theory fringe right-wing group. Just plowed our driveway without being asked and did a great job. How am I going to resist demands for unity in the face of this act of aggressive niceness? Of course, on some level, I realize I owe them thanks. And man, it really looks like the guy backdragged the driveway like a pro. But how much thanks? These neighbors are staunch partisans of blue lives, and there aren't a lot of anything other than white lives in the neighborhood. Now, I'm going to skip down a little bit here because this was the part that really...
It sounds like somebody needs to watch a Springsteen commercial.
Exactly. Somebody needs to go buy a Jeep to make themselves feel better about the state of the country. Now, I'm going to skip down a little bit here. She goes on to talk about Hezbollah. Because now, Taylor, when a Democrat is making a point about how gross Trump supporters are...
Terrorism, obviously.
Terrorism and comparisons are always key. The wilder the comparison, the crazier it seems, the more offensive... That's what we run with. Hezbollah also gives things away for free. The favors Hezbollah does for people in the cities probably doesn't involve snowplows, but like other mafias, Hezbollah tends to its own. The Shiite, sick, elderly, and hungry. They offer protection and hospitality and win loyalty that way. I'm skipping around some parts, shortening up the sentences just for time's sake. And they also demand devotion to their brutal us versus them anti-Sunni cause. Some of us are family, the favors say. The rest are infidels. Now, there's another comparison here because when you're comparing Trump supporters, you can't just say Hezbollah. You know what I mean? It's like you got to up the ante a little bit here. So who comes in next? Louis Farrakhan. The same is true with Louis Farrakhan, who currently helms the Nation of Islam. While the Southern Poverty Law Center classifies him as a dangerous anti-Semite, much of his flock says he's just a little screwy and unfailingly magnanimous to them. When someone helps you when you're down or snowed in, it's almost impossible to regard them as a blight on the world. In fact, you're more likely to be overwhelmed with gratitude and convinced of the person's inherent goodness. You might end up like the upper middle class family I stayed with in France as a teenager. I found this part, another Taylor. So we've hit Hezbollah, we've hit Louis Farrakhan. So what is naturally going to be the next comparison?
I don't know, but we've hit pandemic getaway, and now I grew up as a privileged youth in France.
Right. Well, it would not be a truly Trump-deranged piece if the Nazis were not involved. We know this. So she goes back now to the upper middle class family she stayed with in France as a teenager. They did not attend a citywide celebration for the 100th birthday of Charles de Gaulle, the war hero who orchestrated the liberation of his country from Nazi Germany. So they had several portraits of different things on the wall. So one day she asked them, when I screwed up the courage to ask how it was for them during the occupation, the lady of the house replied, "We were happy because the Nazis were very poli. I didn't know the word, so I excused myself to consult a French-English dictionary. I was in tears when I found the entry, polite." So again, you read that and you're like, oh, wow, that's by itself, that's kind of crazy. You know, she has every right to feel like that's wrong. I mean, it is. But she's comparing it to the people who just plowed her driveway. I just have to keep reminding you guys that all of these comparisons and all of these awful things that she's thinking about stem from her neighbors snow plowing her driveway without her asking them to. So when I accept generosity from my pandemic neighbors, acknowledging the legitimate kindness with a wave or a plate of cookies, am I also sealing us in a fellow travelers who are very poli to each other, but not so much to them? Loving your neighbor is evidently much easier when your neighborhood is full of people just like you. And I'm going to skip down here a little bit. My neighbor supported a man who showed near murderous contempt for the majority of Americans. They kept him in business with their support. But the plowing. With a wave and a thanks, a minimal start on building back trust. I'm not ready to knock on the door with a covered dish yet. I also can't give my neighbors absolution. It's not mine to give. Free driveway work, as nice as it is just not the same currency as justice and truth. To pretend it would be a lie, and they probably aren't looking for absolution anyway. as she goes on to, waxes poetically about how sad she is that these people plowed her driveway. It's really amazing. And the amazing part about it is not that she feels that way, because I've run into plenty of Trump deranged people on Twitter and in real life, and I get it. This is a religion at this point. This is truly their passion. This is their calling, to hate Donald Trump. But to write it in a paper and put it on words and not for one moment think, this makes me look like an idiot. This makes me look like a real jerk.
Since when do you have to consider who somebody voted for to do something nice for them?
Well, Taylor, not even to do something nice, but to accept something nice from someone.
Oh, no, she accepted it, but she had a very big problem with reciprocating.
But I don't even think they would care if she reciprocated, but she had to go and write an entire column about how, twisted she was inside because these Trump supporters had the gall to be so nice to her. And I just have to say, I'm putting this out there for people. As someone who does not have a snowplow, but is in business for one, if you are a Bernie bro or a Hillary Clinton stan, if you have a John Kerry bumper sticker on your car or an Elizabeth Warren sticker or a coexist sticker, I'm with her, or whatever those stickers say, and you own a plow, you are more than welcome. You are encouraged to contact me and plow out my driveway. And I will not give you absolution, nor do I think you want absolution. I would just like to have a free plow of the driveway. That's all. These liberals are, and you know what? Kurt Schlichter had a great piece, overdosing on wokium. And we'll get into that in the next segment, but he breaks down why wokeness is a drug itself. And it's the opiate of idiots, basically. Why push the wokeness drug on the young, vulnerable, dumb, and disenfranchised? Because if you were obsessed with your next woke fix, with jousting with the phantom white supremacists who allegedly lurk around every corner, with purging the bad thought-havers who are the cause of all your disappointments and failures, you aren't seeing who is really running the okey-doke on you. And this brings me, the reason I put these two together is because the truth is, if that woman in her pandemic palatial estate were to have an actual conversation with her Trump-supporting neighbors, she would probably find that deep down, they agree on a lot. But the media doesn't want that. They want people like this Karen who snowed in to truly think that anyone who disagrees with her is evil. Because if she thinks that, and she can focus her attention on having a Black Lives Matter sign outside and being disgusted at her neighbor who voted for Donald Trump, then maybe she won't focus on the ineptitude of our government. Maybe she won't focus on how her kids aren't in school. Maybe she won't focus on the economy. Maybe she won't focus on these terrible vaccine rollouts. She'll just focus on social justice and feel-good wokeness. And that's what they want. Because if everybody stopped being so woke and came together and talked about things, they'd probably realize that their biggest issue is the government and the people who are running the country on both sides. But instead, they pit people against each other and they feed us this hatred. And people like that woman who are sitting in her house and see a clear driveway and think that's a problem. That's exactly what they want. They are succeeding. 844-500-4242. Everyone, make sure to call in and weigh in on what you think. I know I saw a lot of people talking about this over the weekend. What do you think? Do you see her point of view? I know I don't, but who knows? Guys, my friends at Eden Pure have done it again, and for as long as supplies last, Thunderstorm Air Purifier, I'm going to hold it up for you guys right now. It's important I hold it up because I want you to see how small it is. It's like the size of a computer charger. It will come with a free Kennedy Babylon by Howie Carr. That's buy one Thunderstorm Air Purifier and get Kennedy Babylon for free. It's been months and people still ask me if it really works. not only does it really work, but it works in hours.
You need that thunderstorm to clear up all the dirty laundry Howie airs out in that book.
Yes, that's a very good point. And, the smoking from the Kennedys and the drinks. There's a lot of funky smells coming out. So you definitely want your thunderstorm. And also, it's just great because if you have one and you cook a lot in your kitchen, I know we cook a lot of steak, and the smell, it's good in the moment. And then like 10 minutes later when you're done eating, it's really gross. But this thing works like magic. The Eden Pure air purifier, it's so small. You can hold it in your hand, plug it into the wall. We found out last week from a listener that it doesn't block more than one outlet, which is great. The best part is you don't have to replace any air filters, which of course saves you time and money. The Eden Pure air purifier can handle pet kitchen tobacco or that damp basement smell. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word GraceBook. The free book is while supplies last, so grab yours today. Some listeners found the offer over the weekend before we started promoting it just now, so move fast. EdenPure.com, code word GraceBook, and shipping is free. I see you guys on the lines. We will get to you. We got a lot of sound to get to. I promise I'm going to play some of it, but we'll take calls on the other side. This is the Grace Curley Show.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
Here's 1 minute of President Eric Swalwell.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
But I will always be real with you. I will be bold without the bold. Welcome to my fellow candidates, whom I consider we are all a part of being the Avengers. The Republicans in 2016, that was the Hunger Games.
And, it's said often that history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and we heard a lot of rhymes yesterday.
My wife, Brittany, also wants you to know we've got 2 beautiful children, Nelson and Cricket. But the decision to have children was her choice.
I'm the only candidate calling for a ban and buyback on every single assault weapon.
Again, we have to have an ankle monitor on this president. This is the worst possible time for a serial offender like him to be running around unsupervised.
It's story time with Grace Curley. What do you think was the funniest moment of the Howie Carr show?
The funniest moment of the Howie Carr show for me was when we were doing the death pool and someone called up and Howie said, "You're next on the Howie Carr show. Who do you want for the death pool?" And the person said, "Howie Carr." And Howie said, "Yep, that's me. Okay, who do you want for the death pool?" And the person said, "Howie Carr." And Howie again said, "That's my name." And I was just back here crying, laughing in the green room, just realizing that this person was trying to put Howie in the death pool. And he just didn't understand what was happening. And then finally, when he figured it out, he said, "That plays, put it on the list." And it was just, I don't know. I still think about that sometimes.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
Joe Biden accuses Trump of being a racist, but if you listen to Biden's comments, you would agree that he doth protest too much.
If you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
The first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean.
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
That kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger.
They are beyond the pale, many of those people.
God love you. You've been here all day. My Lord, you may feel like you're being incarcerated.
We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro.
They're going to put you all back in chains. Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Grace Curley. She's here for the love.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
There are now people out of jobs once the Keystone Pipeline stopped construction. It's been 12 days since Gina McCarthy and John Kerry were here, and it's been 19 days since that EO. So what are these people who need money now? When do they get their green job?
Well, the president and many Democrats and Republicans in Congress believe that investment in infrastructure, building infrastructure that's in our national interests and that boosts the U.S. economy, creates good-paying union jobs here in America and advances our climate and clean energy goals are something that we can certainly work on doing together. And he has every plan to share more about his details of that plan in the weeks ahead.
He is, Biden's a man with a plan. Until he's not. Until he puts his, arms up and goes, nothing we can really do about this. He's like going to kill all the jobs of the Keystone XL pipeline and then say, this is inevitable. There's no jobs. Sorry, guys.
I have a plan to release a plan. It's going to have details about a plan that I'm planning for.
He's got to call Charlie Baker and get some of those phases. Because the phases, I think, really make it seem like you have a plan, even if you don't. People hear the word phase, and it kind of tricks them for a second. But I do want to keep with this here for Biden, because that was not the only thing. The Keystone Pipeline, it's all about virtue signaling. It's all about making, not his base even, it's about making a very small percentage of his base happy. And he's all about that. And we have some cuts here I think we should get to. Let's start with cut 5. This is Joe Biden on minimum wage.
We should have a minimum wage stand by itself, $15 an hour, and work your way up to the 15. It doesn't have to be boom. And all the economics show, if you do that, the whole economy rises.
Taylor, I've said this before. I'm not a genius when it comes to the economy or the stock market or anything like that. But I've read some pieces that don't say that. They don't say that just making the minimum wage 15 for everyone is going to help. It actually, I've read stuff that says it might hurt businesses that can't afford that.
It also sounds like a lot like entry-level jobs. We're not going to give it to you right away, but you do the work. You're going to get $15 an hour one day. That sounds awful lot like a raise.
And as someone who's ad-libbing a lot on the mic, I can tell you, if you start saying words like bam to describe something, you're reaching. If you have to go bam, say no.
Well, he did the clap. I said bam.
I think he said bam too. We gotta play it back.
We should have a minimum wage stand by itself, $15 an hour, and work your way up to the 15. It doesn't have to be boom. And all the economic.
Boom! It was boom. Either way, not great.
Because he's a boomer.
He's a boomer, and he's booming. But another thing that Taylor brought up today, and I'm glad you're seeing this as well. There's a lot of talk about these stimulus checks, and Biden said that he was going to have the $2,000 stimulus checks, and it was all going to be, I think it was supposed to be like the next day after Trump left office. And now we're being told they're more likely going to be $1,400 stimulus checks, which is not what he originally said. But Norah O'Donnell, I think she's CBS. She's running cover. This is the state of journalism. She's setting up straw men for Joe Biden. She's setting up a false narrative so that she doesn't have to ask him a tough question. So rather than say, how come now we're getting 1,400 when you said 2,000? She teams up with Joe Biden to gaslight the voters. This is cut 3.
You've said you're not compromising on the $1,400 checks. You made that promise. You're sticking to it. So the big question is who gets the check?
Exactly right.
That's not what I remember. Can we have a flashback, please?
If you send John and the Reverend to Washington, those $2,000 checks will go out the door, restoring hope and decency and honor for so many people.
They went out the door all right.
I just have to say, his word as a Biden, I'm starting to have less faith in his word as a Biden. For a long time, I really took that as if Joe Biden says something, it's his word as a Biden, that's it. But now, everything he said like a month ago, he's changing his mind on. And I don't know how I feel about that. And not to mention the fact, I got to play this sound on the other side, Pete Buttigieg is promising Howie Carr's worst nightmare. It's like they all got together the first day of this administration and said, let's find everything that's going to drive Howie Carr crazy for 4 years, and let's do it. And you know what, Taylor, let's just play it now. This is Pete Buttigieg, cut 17.
I think it's safe to say that our old patterns of life, the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday commuting patterns, are not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, and so how might that change what your stuff does.
We think trains, planes, and automobiles, but what about bikes, scooters, wheelchairs for that matter?
Those are things you plan to pay more attention to.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, roads aren't only for vehicles. We got to make sure that pedestrians and individuals and bicyclists and businesses can all coexist on the same roadway.
This is all code for more bike lanes are coming. Oh, it already feels like there's so many. Am I wrong? It feels like there's plenty.
I have to cut across one on my way to work every day.
Pete Buttigieg. He does have a love for airports, though. He finds them to be very romantic, so maybe he knows what he's talking about. Today's poll question is brought to you by the Fallensby Inn. Only 7, I think it's 3 now, rooms left for Grace's Listener Weekend beginning Friday, February 19th. This is a great Valentine's Day gift. To reserve your room, go to fallensbyinn.com. Taylor, what is the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers be invited to the White House?
I'm going to say, based off these stories I have on my desk about them not wearing masks on the field for the celebration, the answer is no.
60% say yes, they will be going to the White House.
All right, guys, I got Neil McCabe coming up next with a big story. Don't go anywhere. This is The Grace Curley Show.
Between the news, appointment TV, and endless scrolling on our phones, we're looking at screens more than ever. But how do you rest your eyes without feeling totally unplugged? By putting in a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds and listening to something great. Whether you're listening to your favorite podcast, binging an audiobook, or working out to a pumped-up playlist, Raycons are built to perform anywhere and anytime with water and sweat-resistant construction and seamless Bluetooth pairing. There are no dangling wires or white stems to worry about. Raycons offer a comfortable in-ear fit for a more discreet look in a variety of colorways for maximum style. And with 6 hours of playtime, you can unplug for a while. The best part? Raycon wireless earbuds start at half the price of the other premium audio brands. So you can pick up a pair and a spare. Right now, get 15% off Raycons at buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buy, B-U-Y, Raycon.com/Howie for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. buyraycon.com/Howie.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
Okay, boys and girls, gather round. It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story of the missing makeup brush.
When I first started working for Howie, I was in sales with the mailroom manager. And one time I bought this really expensive makeup brush. Because working for Howie, it was like my first real paycheck. So I went out and bought this super expensive brush. And when I was driving around with the mailroom manager, we'd go all over New England making sales. I lost it. I thought I lost it in her car. And, I asked her, I said, hey, have you seen my makeup brush? And she She was kind of like, no, I haven't seen it. I'm sure it'll turn up. But I was really determined to find it, and I kept saying, like, no, you got to check again. You got to check again. I eventually found it in my own car under the seat, but she still remembers thinking, this girl is wacky about her makeup.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at G_Curley.
Cory Booker said it best.
There are definitely moments where you listen to Joe Biden and you just wonder.
Here's stumbling and mumbling Joe Biden.
David Duke, the former leader of the KKK. The Ku Klux Klan is the Ku Klux Klan. 8 more years of Donald Trump will change America in a fundamental way. But if Donald Trump is reelected, Freudian slip, and the demagogues around the world. We also have a mechanism to control drug prices. Folks at the folks at Health and the Health Department in the United States, HHS, it would put 720 million women back in the workforce. I never ever thought that I'd see what I saw in Charlotte.
Would you or would you not rejoin the TPP, yes or no?
I would not rejoin the TTP. Well, they're going out and getting G5 and going to dominate. I mean, what are we doing? The bills that the future president here, that the senator's talking about.
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
If you were still a senator, would you vote to convict him?
Look, I ran like hell to defeat him because I thought he was unfit to be president. I've watched what everybody else watched, what happened when that crew invaded the United States Congress. But I'm not in the Senate now. I'll let the Senate make that decision.
Once again, Joe Biden giving us a non-answer answer. He will not say, just like he wouldn't say whether or not he would pack the Supreme Court or whether or not he would ban fracking. He actually kind of did say he would, but nobody believed him. This guy just never can say yes or no. And I have to let you guys know that the trial memorandum of Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America, was released today. The introduction is pretty awesome. Listen to this. During the past 4 years, Democrat members of the United States House of Representatives have filed at least 9 resolutions to impeach Donald Trump, each containing charges more outlandish than the next. One might have been excused for thinking that the Democrats' fevered hatred for Citizen Trump and their Trump derangement syndrome would have been broken by now, seeing as he is no longer the president. And yet, for the second time in just over a year, the United States Senate is preparing to sit as a court of impeachment, but this time over a private citizen who is a former president. In this country, the Constitution, not a political party and not politicians, reigns supreme. But through this latest article of impeachment now before the Senate, Democrat politicians seek to carve out a mechanism by which they can silence a political opponent in a minority party. The Senate must reject this brazen political act. That is from the trial memorandum of Donald J. Trump, and it's you can get it online. It's pretty long. But I wanted to bring in a real expert on all of this and what it means for not just Trump, but for the rest of the Republican Party. Neil McCabe from the Tennessee Star is joining us. He's a friend of the show. Thank you so much, Neil, for hopping in so late in the game.
Hey, great to be with you, Grace. Good afternoon.
Neil, I loved your latest piece. You said when Senate tries Trump, Senate Republicans are also on trial. And you said the Senate opens the second impeachment trial of President Donald J. Trump. There will be 2 defendants, Trump and the Senate Republicans. Explain to everyone what you mean by that.
Yeah, the Senate Republican Party has always been sort of distant from Trump. You know, the House of Representatives and Trump had at least House Republicans and Trump had a very close relationship. And there's always an aloofness between senators and the president, but it was really pronounced during the Trump presidency. And these guys are now, they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is, and they're going to have to make a decision. Are they going to acquit Trump like they should, or are they going to join with the Democrats and convict them? Now, we know the verdict is already predestined because of the test vote that Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky ran. So I expect the acquittal to be somewhere close to the 45-55 margin. Rand Paul's motion to test the constitutionality of impeachment itself. So that's basically where the numbers are going to be. If Trump gets 34 votes, he is fine. So there's no question he gets acquitted. So we know what the verdict is for Trump. The verdict for Senate Democrats won't come until November of 2022 because there are 20 Republican-held Senate seats up and only 14 Democratic seats. And they just got to find out, do they want to blow themselves up or not?
And so, Neil, if we know what the votes are already, are you basically saying that it's the squishy Republicans who are going to, if they decide to vote yes on this, that they are essentially killing their own political careers?
Right. Well, what it comes down to, Grace, is what I call the coward's choice.
Right.
And so we know that McConnell can't stand Trump. We know that even though Trump gave his wife a very good job in the cabinet, in the last week of the administration, his wife resigned just to embarrass Trump and sort of kick him on the way out. We know John Thune, number 2 Republican, can't stand Trump. And so if they had the courage of their convictions, they would join with the Democrats and they would try to rid the country of Donald Trump, who they loathe. But they are cowards, and so they will acquit him. And you're going to see a lot of these sort of cowards. Now, you see, obviously Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski Collins from Maine, Murkowski from Alaska. They've always been sort of allowed to do whatever they want, so that doesn't really count. You have Mitt Romney, who people in Massachusetts are very familiar with. And, of course, when he was governor, I would describe Mitt Romney's management of the Republican Party in Massachusetts as demolition by neglect. And so the idea that he's somehow, some Trump guy, so we can write him off. Then you got Ben Sasse and Pat Toomey. Pat Toomey is retiring. He's a guy who, as a freshman senator, took over what's called the Republican Study Committee, the Senate Steering Committee. And the Senate Steering Committee is the group of conservative senators that operates as a bloc. And so when Jim DeMint retired from the Senate, went to take over Heritage, Toomey took over the Senate Steering Committee, and he proceeded to use that as a platform to try to push President Barack Obama's gun control agenda in the Manchin-Toomey bill. And he almost blew up the conservative bloc in the Senate. And so, Toomey has been a lame duck, ever since then. And so we'll see who else will step up. I don't think anybody else has the courage to step up to vote to acquit Trump.
I'm talking to Neil McCabe from the Tennessee Star. Neil, you're breaking in and out a little bit, so wherever you were at the beginning of this, just try, if you can, just try to stay still so we don't lose the connection. You talk a lot in this piece about Oklahoma's Senator James Lankford, and you say he's a case study in a politician playing the coward's choice. Talk a little bit about Lankford and why you think he's such a prime example of the coward's choice.
Yeah, Lankford is this classic example because we watched it in real time as he metamorphosed through his understanding of the coward's choice. Now, Trump won Oklahoma with over 60% of the vote. So at that time, when Ted Cruz was leading a challenge to the Electoral College certifications, Lankford recognized that the coward's choice was to side with Trump. And so Lankford was actually speaking on the Senate floor in favor of decertifying Arizona's Electoral College tally when the Senate floor was cleared because the mob had overrun the Capitol. He was actually in the process of telling his other senators, we need to decertify Arizona. Well, after the mob was cleared and everything came back, he then voted to certify Arizona, and he voted to certify every other state because the coward's choice had changed. And so, on the Senate floor, before the mob hit, he said that he stood with the millions of Americans who are challenging the irregularities in the election, and he said it was wrong that these Americans were told to sit down and shut up. But, a day later, he's and you know what? I think maybe these people should sit down and shut up. In fact, he decided that it was racist of him to oppose the Electoral College, and he wrote an open letter to a black community in Oklahoma called in North Tulsa, where he apologized for the racial overtones of his opposition to the Electoral College. Now, remember, there are 5 congressmen, all Republicans in Oklahoma. All 5 of them voted to decertify Arizona and decertify Pennsylvania. So, I mean, the question then is, who is he really afraid of?
Right.
Because he's not afraid of the Oklahoma voters, but he's definitely playing, for him to flip like that so violently right before our eyes, he's definitely playing the coward's choice.
I think sometimes with these people, they just hate the thought, like they take these criticisms about racism and white supremacy and they're this and they're evil and they support Trump and they should be ashamed of themselves. And it's like they take it to heart or something and they really let it bother them. And I say this all the time on this show, but I really think there's a power in people who know themselves well enough to not let those Washington Post puff pieces or those tweets from Brian Stelter bother them and have a really thick armor. And there's not a lot of people like that. Ron DeSantis is one of them. Donald Trump, people who don't just, try to deal with the hate, but kind of enjoy it to a certain point where they're fine with being hated and they don't need to be cowards because there's no point to that. Did we lose him?
By Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, it's predictable what the coward's choice is, and Donald Trump never took the coward's choice, or he rarely took the coward's choice, and it just shocked people, and that's what made him so unpredictable, because President Mitt Romney would have caved all the time. Certainly President Paul Ryan would have caved all the time. I mean, the Democrats pushed a bill called No Fly, No Buy, which basically said if you were on the no-fly list, you couldn't have a gun. And it's like, the gun rights community had to stop what they were doing and come back to Washington because the Republican Speaker of the House was working with the Democrats to restrict gun rights. And I swear the only reason Paul Ryan sided with it is because it rhymed. And because it rhymed, it had to pass.
And then when you say that, Donald Trump never took the coward's choice, I always think of Brett Kavanaugh. How many Republican presidents would have stood by someone going through those accusations? And most people would have tossed them right out. Mitt Romney would have said, all right, we need someone else. Mitt Romney would have apologized. He would have said, I'm so sorry I ever brought this man forward. It was a mistake. I'm ashamed of myself. And Trump, as people don't like him because he says what he thinks, but he's loyal as the day is long. And as long as you don't turn on him, he will stay with you until the end. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think that these Senate Republicans, if they turn their back on him for that strange new respect, Neil, I agree with you. I think they are on trial, and we're going to have a verdict pretty soon. This is Neil McCabe from the Tennessee Star. Thanks so much for being with us, Neil. Where can people find you on Twitter?
All right, go to Neil W. McCabe 2, the number 2 on Twitter, and please check out my columns at the Tennessee Star.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neil. Guys, when we get back, I want to play a little bit of this Maxine Waters sound. So Maxine Waters, as everyone knows, the representative from California, she really, I think, started the violent rhetoric that has sprouted up in the last couple of years. She became famous for that little speech she did outside where she said, if you see Trump supporters or people who work for Trump push back on them. We're going to play that quote because someone actually asked her about it today. And Taylor, I could be wrong, but it's the first time I've seen anyone bring this up to her, have the audacity to bring this up to her. Maybe it was Wolf Blitzer because he's the apologist for the Republican Party. Otherwise, I don't know who would be this brave. But we'll play that sound on the other side. We have a lot more to get to. I'm going to open up the phone lines if you want to call in, 844-500-4242. Call in. We'll get to all that on the other side. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You can call her late for dinner. Just don't call her Gracie. It's The Grace Curley Show.
I recently had a dental emergency, and where did I go? Perfect Smiles. I've said this before, but this reminded me again of what a perfectionist Dr. Houghton is. He is a veneer engineer, a world-class dental artist. Being on TV, it's important that I look my best. Dr. Houghton did that for me, and he can do it for you too. Right now, when a lot of people don't want to go into the city, Perfect Smiles is conveniently located in Nashua, New Hampshire, and parking is free. I was impressed to see all the state-of-the-art safety protocols that Perfect Smiles has taken since the virus. You'll feel safe and confident when you visit Perfect Smiles. Call 1-844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 1-844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, or go to HowieCarrShow.com and click on the Perfect Smiles banner. You can also see my video at PerfectSmiles.com. Perfect Smiles. Change your smile. Change your life.
Here's 1 minute of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
There's a lot of restaurants that are feeling the pain of racism, where people are literally not patroning Chinese restaurants. They're not patroning Asian restaurants because of just straight up racism around the coronavirus. So,
only in America does the president, when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that.
I know it sounds banal. Do we know how long puppies are allowed to stay with their mothers after a dog has given birth?
I don't.
8 weeks. Wow. So the market has decided that women and people who give birth deserve less time with their children than a dog.
So the whole premise of the Green New Deal is that we're screwed.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
She's the friend you never knew you needed.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Okay, make that best friend. It's Grace Curley.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Rather violent, I would say. You could say it incites violence if you were going to make a judgment call, but not according to Maxine Waters from California. The Democratic representative was asked about this, and she told MSNBC's Ali Velshi that she never glorified or encouraged violence. Now, that was the original cut. I'm sure you guys have seen it all over the news. We play it a good amount of time because it's important that you hear it, because it just really highlights how there was no outrage when Democrats were speaking like this. And now, after Trump told people to march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, he is being impeached as a private citizen for inciting an insurrection. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but there's definitely some things they have to work out with this argument. So let's listen to Maxine now claim that she never said anything violent. This is cut one.
Can you say that you have not glorified or encouraged violence against Republicans?
Absolutely, I can say it. As a matter of fact, if you look at the words that I used, the strongest thing I said was tell them they're not welcome. Talk to them. Tell them they're not welcome. I didn't say go and fight. I didn't say anybody was going to have any violence, and so they can't make that stick.
She said push back on them.
She literally said crowd around them.
Yeah, create a crowd.
Like a mob?
I feel like I'm hearing different audio than Maxine is. Let's listen to hers one more time.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Now, this is just one example of tens and tens of examples of Democrats speaking like this. And speaking in this violent way. I mean, I didn't even have Taylor pull old ones because we've gone through them so many times. But at the top of my head, I believe it was Madonna who said something about a bomb. I don't want to repeat it because I don't want Secret Service coming after me. Like I'm sure they did her. There was Madonna. There was Johnny Depp. Remember, he made an assassination joke. There was Kathy Griffin with the effigy of Donald Trump's bloodied head. There was tons of violence. There was tons and tons of violence. Kamala Harris was supporting the bail fund for the people who were burning down our cities throughout the summer of love. There's never any accountability. There's never any honesty from these people. And it cracks me up that that's Velchi's best way of asking it. Like I'm sure, Taylor, that after that clip, he went on to say, wait a second, we have an example here. You actually said XYZ.
To use her own words, he did not push back on her.
He did not push back on her. He probably said, thank you so much. It's been an honor. It has been a complete honor to talk to you. We have a lot to talk about as far as virtue signaling is concerned. I do want to talk about Dr. Jill's latest. She's advising people to wear a mask while they walk their dogs. Do we have this sound, Taylor? It might take Taylor a second because it's from Twitter. But she says, hi there, I'm Jill Biden here at the White House with our two dogs, Chip.
Hi there, I'm Jill Biden here at the White House with our two dogs, Chip and Major. For a lot of us during this pandemic, our pets have been such a source of joy and comfort. And maybe a bark or two on a video conference. The unconditional love from a dog is one of the most beautiful things on earth, and we owe it to them to keep ourselves healthy. So please keep wearing your masks, even when you're out walking your dog. Right, guys?
I would like to say on behalf of Major, this dog has been used by these people too many times. And we are barely like a month into this presidency. He was used as a scapegoat when Joe Biden broke his foot doing God knows what.
A beautiful dog. A talented dog.
Joe said he pulled Major's tail and then tripped on a rug. By the way, do you think he was wearing a mask when he was fresh out of the shower while he was playing with Major? That's a question I have. And number two, now they're using Major as part of their campaign to brainwash America. That when you're outside with your dog, you have to have a mask on. Major needs representation. Major, if you're looking for an agent, follow me on Twitter at @G_Curly. We'll be right back, everyone. This is The Grace Curley Show.
It's a new year and time for a new you. Stefano Hair Restoration changed my life, and they can change yours too. My production director said when he saw a recent pic of me that, you look great, like Benjamin Button. You're getting younger. That's quite the compliment, and I owe it to Stefano Hair Restoration and Dr. Chris Hines. Many wait years before they get the hair restoration they deserve. Stop waiting and just get it done. You won't regret it, and you'll ask yourself, why did you wait so long? You can see my before and after photo shoot on their site at hairman.com. Hairman.com. Stefano Hair Restoration is taking all the necessary precautions to keep you safe during your visit. They also offer virtual consultations. Go to hairman.com today and schedule your free consultation and get the hair you deserve and have always wanted. Dr. Highness took care of me and he'll take care of you too. Visit them today at hairman.com.
We are now effective today requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years. As it turns out, it was a setup, so I take responsibility for falling for a setup. This salon owes me an apology. What they do.
He's the gaffe that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts. I get in trouble some of the things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it. And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, Stefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. hairman.com/Howie.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Hello, all the participants in tonight's event. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work. We will reclaim our credibility. The pandemic the pandemic, we need all our strength to persevere. Rural versus urban. Rural versus urban. America built of decency. I took it to instill public confidence in the vaccine. President-elect Harris took hers today for the same reason. Everybody is entitled to be treated with decency. All my colleagues I serve with in the House and the Senate up here. James Joyce was said to have told a friend, I understand they worry about their jobs. I understand, like my dad, they lay at bed at night staring at the ceiling. Yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony. Come on, give me a break, man.
They're outlandish, they're outrageous, and they're hypocrites. They're the women of The View.
Bernie was so menschy in that moment, like a real guy. I actually am aroused by him.
Timothy McVeigh was a Christian. Just saying. Hitler was a Christian. Well, he didn't like the Catholics.
Trump needs to be medicated and hospitalized at this point, or he is going to just kill all of us.
I mean, do we have to wait till the hammer and sickle is on the American flag before we stand up to this guy?
Joy, you've worn blackface.
I did not go in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
It was a Halloween party. I went as a beautiful African woman.
Did you have tanning lotion on, Joy?
A little. I had makeup that was a little bit darker than my skin.
I'm hoping Dr. Jill becomes a Surgeon General. She's a hell of a doctor. Whoopi, you said that Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape. I know it wasn't rape.
Child molest, maybe? I'm not sure.
It was something. It was something else, but I don't believe it was rape.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, Stefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. hairman.com/Howie.
Watch out, Joe Biden. You might have to share some of the spotlight because your running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is certainly grabbing some attention for her own gaffes.
She was part of our culture. Yes, we wear those notorious B.I.G. T-shirts with a lot of pride.
Best rapper alive, Tupac.
He's not.
You say he lives on.
Not alive. I know. I keep doing that. A Harris administration together with Joe Biden as the president of the United States. The Biden-Harris administration. We have got to, in America, reimagine how we are accomplishing public safety. And let's be clear, there is no vaccine for racism.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to this beautiful Monday afternoon. And lucky for us, this show, Taylor, I gotta say, it's at a really great time of day because we tend to get just enough highlights from Press Secretary Jen Psaki, but we don't have enough to really overwhelm people right off the bat. I think the standout video of the day, as far as Jen Psaki, the circle back queen, is concerned, has to be a question from who else but the one horse pony, Peter Doocy. This is a question about jobs and green energy and the Keystone Pipeline.
Through the course of the week. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. I do have a question on COVID, but first on energy. When is it that the Biden administration is going to let the thousands of fossil fuel industry workers, whether it's pipeline workers or construction workers, who are either out of of work or will soon be out of work because of a Biden EO, when it is and where it is that they can go for their green job. And that is something the administration has promised. There is now a gap. So I'm just curious when that happens, when those people can count on that.
Well, I'd certainly welcome you to present your data of all the thousands and thousands of people who won't be getting a green job. Maybe next time you're here, you can present that.
But you said that they would be getting green jobs, so I'm just asking when that happens. Richard Trumka, who is a friend, longtime friend of Joe Biden, says about that day one Keystone EO, he says, I wish he, the president, had paired that more carefully with the thing that he did second by saying, here's where we are creating the jobs.
I find, and I just saw this on Twitter, Molly Hemingway tweeted that for someone who's getting very few tough questions, or I wouldn't even say tough, just fair questions, she's not handling it particularly well. She gets very sassy and kind of passive aggressive. Why don't you present it if you have that information? Like, this is your job. It's not Peter Doocy's job to get up there and explain his question to you with like data and stuff. Just answer the question, yes or no. Or do you have the answer? And a lot of times she says you can check with the DOJ, you can check with this branch, you can check with that branch. But this idea that she doesn't have to answer the questions or that it's stupid of these reporters to actually ask these questions just shows the level of arrogance and really how much this entire team has gotten away with up to this point. They are not ready. And I wrote a column months and months and months ago about Biden and his whole team of staffers. And I said, there's something to be said for getting beat up in the process. And I'm speaking obviously figuratively, getting beat up in the process of campaigning and, politics ain't beanbag. And there's a reason that expression exists. And Trump got beat up so often from everyone, from every angle, about every single thing, whether it was the ketchup on his steak or the Diet Coke he was drinking or the show he was watching or what he was tweeting or, all sorts of things. But it did create a guy who could take more and could handle it and would get angry and fight back. But he wasn't coddled by the press. And I often thought, I don't think they're helping Joe Biden as much as they think they are. But by not getting him groomed to answer any sort of question, they're really setting him up for disaster. And we're seeing that. And even in a press secretary who is far more with it than Joe Biden, she's ultra sensitive to any sort of question that she does not think is about Air Force One colors or Joe Biden's dog or how bad Trump is. Any question like that, she really, really does not like. And it's telling that is her reaction. Like, oh, I welcome you to present this information. I'm telling you, I don't know, Taylor. I don't know how long Peter Doocy's going to have that seat in the press room.
Hopefully for a long time. I don't think they'll be revoking his. That's news they don't want. But it's very territorialistic watching Jen Psaki in these press briefings compared to Kayleigh McEnany, especially when the Trump administration is brought up in the room. Like, they definitely go on the defense and actually attack back they lash back at the reporters, as we just heard. And she does it countless times a week.
Yeah, and she does it in a real kind of smarmy way,
It's like they're too focused on who was just there, and it really irks them. And she has something to prove.
Yes, no, I would totally agree with all that. But it's a return to normalcy. I do want to talk a little bit about the Biden administration because we have a lot of sound here and a lot of stories. Obviously, we played you guys that incredibly important PSA from the good Dr. Jill about wearing your mask while you're walking your dog. But I also want to play some Dr. Fauci here. He made news today for saying what Trump has been saying forever, that he wants to open schools up. Now, you'll remember, and we had a caller point this out on Friday, Trump was one of the first people to say, listen, we cannot have the cure be worse than the disease. And one of those issues was for kids because they were not getting sick. The transmission rate was very low. And it didn't seem to make sense to really pull them out of school. And I'm not being dramatic when I say change their lives for the worse in a major way. I mean, and I'm going to read you guys a piece here from Carol Markowitz, who I'm a big fan of. But she wrote a piece about not just the kids who are affected by this, but women. Where are the feminists who are coming forward and saying, this is not a fair burden to put on mothers who also have careers. They can't send their kids to school. The kids are at home. They're suffering at work. It's really, it's depressing, but it's an interesting thing to look at. Where are these feminists who claim to care so much about women? I do want to play this first sound from Dr. Fauci, though, because every day he has a new idea, and this is cut 20.
We want to get the schools K-8 open within the next 100 days, all of them. You want to be the first to open, the last to close.
And this is cut 21, Dr. Fauci.
There have been a number of studies to show that when you have children that are a certain age, namely above 8th grade and higher, that they transmit as easily as adults transmit. Whereas younger children, even though they have virus in their nasopharynx when they get infected, they do not transmit as readily. So for that reason, you want to focus on that group, the K-8 group. But there are some data that suggest that.
Now, Taylor Cormier is my producer today, and he was nice enough to pull an old clip of President Trump. Taylor, when is this from?
This is from last May.
Okay, let's play. This is Trump on school openings.
I think that we have to open our schools. Young people are very little affected by this. We have to get the schools open. We have to get our country open. We have to open our country. Now, we want to do it safely, but we also want to do it as quickly as possible. We can't keep going on like this. I mean, you're having bedlam already in the streets. You can't do this. We have to get it open. I totally disagree with him on schools.
Yeah, is it fair to say that Trump was right on with that? I wonder if Dr. Fauci will issue an apology for, giving Trump such a hard time for wanting to open schools. I really, really do hope to see schools opening. I think people are getting completely depressed, and kids are getting really behind. I mean, I got to tell you, Taylor, if I was at home as a little kid and my school was on a computer, first of all, there was 4 kids in my family. It would have been complete mayhem. There is no chance I would have been sitting there for 8 hours.
I did an online course in college, and as a grown adult, I didn't have the attention span for it. I flunked it.
It's tough. You get bored, and it's not natural.
No, it wasn't tough. I was just lazy. But yeah, you get bored very easily. You find yourself not paying attention to. Actually, we didn't even have video. It was just all reading. It was bad.
I was talking to a friend of mine this past weekend, and she's a 4th grade teacher, and she was talking about remote learning, and she said it's just so bizarre. Like the parents are walking by in the background with their robes on, and then there's loud noises everywhere, and the kids are, they're on mute, then they're not on mute, then they're chiming in when they're not supposed to be. It's just complete chaos. And meanwhile, she's just trying to teach them like the gravity or something like that, like just one thing, and nobody can focus. Kids are telling her about my hamster, and she's like, not now. She said it's just totally brutal, and she feels really bad for the kids.
So
because
I guess part of the new normal is they're talking about having kids back in the classrooms while keeping a certain percentage of them home. So it's like a rotating virtual classroom. They call them the Zoomers and the Roomers.
Oh, gosh. Make it stop. I really, though, I don't mean to make light of it, because I feel so bad for these kids. I mean, you always didn't like school, like, I don't want to go to school today, but I loved school. Like, really, when I look back, when you're in 4th and 5th grade, that's when you have the best time with your friends. And all these kids have been home for months and months and months. And if your kid's in 3rd grade or 4th grade, they're supposed to be learning big time stuff like multiplication tables. You cannot be happy about this. And then you got people like Joy Behar who go, why don't they just repeat the year? Like, it's nothing to her. Like, just repeat the year. Okay, Joy, we'll President Behar. That's a great idea. Guys, when we get back, I'll take your calls on this. I also want to read you this piece by Carol Markowitz. It's called Feminists Are Missing in Action as Anti-Science School Closings Brutally Slam Women. I do not have any kids, but I do have to say I've heard a lot of stories from moms who are at home with all their kids also trying to work, and No one is having a good time in those situations. My friends at Eden Pure have done it again, and for as long as supplies last, Thunderstorm air purifiers will come with a free Kennedy Babylon by Howie Carr. That's right. Buy one Thunderstorm air purifier and get Kennedy Babylon for free. It's been months, and people still ask me if it really works. Taylor can tell you. I know you use it in your house as well, Taylor.
I've got two in the basement, one on the man cave side, one on the laundry room side, and you wouldn't notice a difference between the two rooms because they smell the same, which is no odor at all.
And I like the fact Taylor brings up the basement because no matter how, nice your basement is, it's easy to get a weird smell down there.
It's an older house. There may be a crack in the foundation or something. You just don't know. And, the people that lived there before, you don't know if they left anything in the rafters or anything like that.
Right. So all you have to do is you take your Thunderstorm air purifier. It's small. I'm holding it up in my hand right now. It's really small. One of the reasons I like it is because sometimes you buy these things. First of all, they can be huge. They can be like over $600, which I don't know anyone who wants to spend over $600 on an air purifier. But also, a lot of times you have to buy air filters, and then you end up having to, it's a lot of work. And I'm a lazy person. I know Taylor, he failed his Zoom class. He's a lazy person as well. We love these because you plug it in and then you're done with it. The Eden Pure air purifier can handle pet, kitchen, tobacco, or that damp basement smell. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word GRACEBOOK. The free book is while supplies last, so grab yours today. Some listeners found the offer over the weekend before we started it, so it is moving fast. EdenPure.com, code word GRACEBOOK. Shipping is free. We'll be back on the other side with your calls, 844-500-4242. What do you think of all this remote learning and do you think it's unfair to the moms at home who are trying to work their jobs and teach the kids at the same time? We'll be back on the other side. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to The Grace Curley Show.
This hour of The Grace Curley Show is brought to you by Old New England Soap. From bath bombs to candles for her and shave soap for him, Old New England Soap has what you need for Valentine's Day. Order today at oldnesoap.com. Here's 1 minute with Governor
Charlie Parker in Massachusetts.
I'd certainly put myself on that list. I'm a basketball player. I always was. There's a lot at stake here. This is not a virus to be trifled with or disrespected. Respect the virus. I have a hard time understanding when we're going to be able to play basketball again. We can start talking about a gradual, careful, data-driven, phased reopening. Don't let a few nice days step on that. I need to talk to the Attorney General and find out what the actual parameters of the ruling are. Did this just happen? And the reason I read that story is because I'm a basketball player and I agree. I was first made aware of the discrepancy on this on the day that the registrar resigned. The vast majority, and I mean like the vast majority of the people who are part of these protests are there to make a point and to make it peacefully. That is so obvious, I'm amazed that anybody could say anything other than that. I would love to be able to open everything up tomorrow. That would be an incredibly irresponsible thing to do.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
What impact do you think Russian interference had in the election?
I think it was one of the major contributors to the outcome.
Years from the 2016 election, and Hillary Clinton still can't accept the results. Take a listen.
You know, you can run the best campaign. You can be the person who gets the nomination. You could lose.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was. This wasn't on the level. Flashing videos that appear and then disappear, and they're on the dark web and nobody can find them. It's like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again. So, of course, he's obsessed with me.
This is the Grace Curley Show.
We were planning to open the restaurants in New York City 25% indoor dining on Valentine's Day. They have made the point that they'd like to open a couple of days earlier so they can be ready for Valentine's Day, get the staff oriented, get supplies into the restaurants. And that's a reasonable request. So we'll start indoor dining on Friday.
How nice of King Cuomo. He sounds a little bit like he knows now that he's no longer America's favorite governor. His voice sounds a little sad. Well, I guess Janice Dean, the weather girl, as I believe one of his spokesperson or someone called her, must be having a fun time listening to him try to, I don't know, eat a little bit of humble pie. That's all we ask. We don't ask for much. So I was talking about this feminist movement and how they're missing in action during all of this learning from home and the shutdown of our schools. But first, today's poll question is brought to you by the Fallensby Inn. There are only 3 rooms left. I originally thought there were 7. I was incorrect. There are 3 rooms available for my listener weekend getaway beginning Friday, February 19th. This is a great Valentine's gift. To reserve your room, go to fallensbyinn.com. Go there fast. I think these will be sold out by the end of the show. That's fallensbyinn.com. Taylor Cormier is on the board. What is the poll question, Taylor, and what are the results thus far?
Will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers be invited to the White House?
I'm really going towards no, because I'm seeing more and more stories about how Tom Brady was out hugging and kissing people on the field, and other people were hugging, no masks, and it was the maskers are not going to be happy with it. So I'm going to say no.
Does your no include the possibility for a virtual White House invitation?
That is interesting. I could see something virtual. If that counts as inviting, I will say yes.
38% say no, they won't be invited to the White House. I would say a virtual invitation does not count as going to the White House.
Okay, then I'm on that side. I mean, I'm sure Biden, it's an easy out for him. I was talking to someone the other day and they said COVID, and I'm not downplaying the sickness and, that for some people it's very dangerous. But for most people, like our age and stuff, a person said to me, COVID can be anything you want it to be. Like if you don't want to go to your sister's dinner party, I'm a little nervous about COVID.
Yeah, you start asking, well, how many people are going to be there?
Yeah.
Do I know him? Has he come into contact with anybody?
Is he a super spreader? His name, he sounds like he'd be a super spreader.
Are we all sharing the cake as individual cupcakes?
That restaurant is very known for tapas, and I don't really want to be sharing small plates with everyone, so I'm going to have to pass. It really is, depending on the convenience factor, it can be whatever you want it to be. So I think convenience-wise, Joe Biden's going to use COVID as an excuse to not get himself involved with Tom Brady.
Well, he's already set the precedent, too. Joe Biden is, that you shouldn't be traveling at this. And he's come out and said that. And even Peter Doocy last week asked Jen Psaki, well, he said he shouldn't, you shouldn't be traveling, especially on planes, yet he's going to Delaware for the weekend. So I think that question would be asked by Peter Doocy again if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were invited to the White House.
God bless that one-horse pony soldier. Guys, I am going to read a little bit from this, and just a heads up, we're going to have Dave Seminara on next. He wrote a piece, speaking of Tom Brady, where he said he no longer hates Tom Brady, and he's going to tell us why. Maybe he can make a convert out of Taylor. Maybe by the end of the segment, Taylor will be a TB12 fan as well. So here's the New York Post story. Feminists are MIA as anti-science school closings brutally slam women. As the National Women's Law Center notes, although net jobs lost hit 140,000 nationwide, women lost 156,000 jobs while men actually gained 16,000. Even more female workers may have felt forced to voluntarily give up their jobs to be home looking after their kids exiled from their school buildings at the behest of powerful teachers' unions. Oh, and as CNN reports, the job losses hit Black and Hispanic women disproportionately. Feminists are supposed to care about minorities along with women, aren't they? The giant roof-busting elephant in the room. Women have been hit especially hard by the pandemic in large part because school in many major American cities has all but ceased to exist. And yet that deafening sound no one hears is the tragic silence of a feminist movement that has chosen to side with teachers' unions instead of with women throughout the country who are bearing the brunt of those school closures. This is Carol Markowitz from the New York Post, and I'm skipping around. The New York Times just ran several pieces about the struggles of mothers, but largely avoided the schools. The feminist magazine Miss has barely touched the topic of shuttered schools, except when it was used to criticize the Donald Trump administration for daring to push for their opening. In December, Miss featured a piece that did note that school closures are having devastating effects on gender equity, but instead of arguing for their opening, the piece argued for the closing of businesses. This should be feminism's movement. Activists on behalf of women should be screaming their heads off that we must follow the science and open the schools. They can note that it's only public schools in large American cities that have decided to forego schooling. Instead, these supposed champions for women sit silently by as moms crumble in the face of all that is expected of them. Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll be back on the other side, everybody, with Dave Seminara. This is The Grace Curley Show.
The Subaru of New England, Washington's birthday sales event lasts all month long. Feel the freedom in a brand new all-wheel drive 2021 Subaru Forester with standard EyeSight driver assist technology starting at $24,795 with 0.9% financing for up to 48 months. Or lease for only $239 per month for 36 months with $24.99 due at signing. Details at SubaruofNewEngland.com.
Alexander Hamilton said, "Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything." This is Toby from Cape Gunworks. When our founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, there was no question of its meaning. Today, if you have questions, come to Cape Gunworks for some advice, training, or to send a few rounds downrange. We have a fully stocked pro shop with a huge selection of guns, crossbows, archery, classes, rentals, a 15-lane range, and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks, Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
President Trump is clearly ethically unfit and intellectually unprepared to be the president of the United States. And I support Chairwoman. In the coming weeks, the House will hold hearings. Congresswoman Harris, Senator Harris. He's our president, and I would rather he not be taking something that has not been approved, especially in his age group and in his, shall we say, weight group, what is morbidly obese, they say. So completely inappropriate in so many ways that it's almost a given. It's like a child who comes in with mud on their pants or something. That's the way it is. They're outside playing. That's what he comes in with doggy doo on his shoes, and everybody who works with him has that on their shoes too. But I only will do that if you tell me that this legislation is worthy of George Kirby's name. This moment of national anguish.
You've been hearing me talk about super beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why super beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of super beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind super beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story of how the Dirty Rats podcast happened.
We were sitting in a staff meeting, and I started talking about how I love true crime podcasts. I listen to them all the time on my ride home, and the mailroom manager suddenly said, "Wait a second, we have true crime." And she started, pointing out all of the books behind us at the staff meeting that were all of Howie's books about Whitey Bulger. Howie wrote it. Howie at first was going to voice it, but it started to sound a little bit too old-time radio, and we wanted something a little bit more modern. And then Taylor read for it, and he had that voice. It just worked. Happy to say it turned out great, and it was really fun. And I was pleasantly surprised at how good it sounded.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists.
No organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a little lighter topic to talk about right now. If you go to gracecurleyshow.com, you can check out the latest column by Dave Seminara. It is titled, "I No Longer Hate Tom Brady." It's hard for me to even say it because I don't even understand how someone could hate Tom Brady, but that's why we're bringing Dave on here. So Dave, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Grace. You don't understand how someone could hate Tom Brady. Have you ever been to Buffalo, Grace?
I have not, and if you keep up that attitude, I will never go to Buffalo.
You got to come.
No, so break it down, Dave.
A lot of Buffalo haters, like 1 million of them or so.
Break down. You've been a Bills fan for more than 40 years, and break down the amount of times and what you watched Tom Brady do to your team.
Do I have to? Okay. He beat us 32 times, Grace, over a period of 19 years. So you could imagine, and we beat him 3 times. So I'm not a math major, but that's a pretty lopsided ratio there. And, you beat the team 32 times, and many of those 32 losses were blowouts. And he also insulted us once, too.
Tell people about that.
He was talking about his father. Well, this was years ago, but of course, we're in Buffalo. We sort of have an inferiority complex. I don't live there anymore, but my family's all still there. And, we have a bit of a chip on our shoulder because people are always taking cheap shots at us. And Brady was trying to say, basically, how loyal a fan his dad was. And his illustration, his example of this was, my dad even goes to the games in Buffalo. And he said, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Buffalo before, but the hotels there are really bad, or something on those lines. Like, he insulted our hotels, which you're like, oh, man, low blow.
I don't know if you guys have ever been to the hotels in Buffalo. They're not the nicest places in the world, but he would still travel to those games. I could kind of see how that might rub you the wrong way.
Ouch. It wouldn't if he was talking about some city that was already very self-confident, maybe not. But we're a little edgy in Buffalo, I got to admit, because we've been ragged on for so long, you know? We're
right.
sensitive.
And so we're really
snowflakes, I guess.
You really detested Tom Brady for years and years and years. And then something happened very recently. Explain to people why you had this change of heart.
Yes, I did have what is that Saul on the road to, I'm going to get this wrong, but I did have some sort of a conversion. If it was Saul on the road to Damascus, is that the parable from the Bible? I don't know, but I did also teach my two children to hate Tom Brady too, so I also indoctrinated them into the Bills' hatred, even though they've never lived in Buffalo. But I started to change my mind, and it first started when Brady spurned the Patriots, and he signed with Tampa, because I lived down in St. Pete, of course, and him leaving the AFC East and leaving the Patriots, to me, that was a wonderful thing for him to do. I was thrilled. Immediately, I thought, okay, we might actually win the division with him gone, and sure enough, we did.
So you were happy as a matter of convenience, like he's out of your way now. He's, you guys have a shot. That's why you at first were.
Yeah, and I thought, thank you. And it wasn't just me. I mean, even the mayor of Buffalo held a press conference, and he urged, it was right at the start of coronavirus when this happened, and he urged Buffalonians to celebrate at home. He's one of those mayors that Howie would hate, who's constantly hectoring people, and he was worried that Buffalonians were literally going to be partying in the streets when Brady left our division.
Wow. This runs deep. And then you also talk a little bit about the age factor. And because Dave, you have books out. You're very into sports, specifically tennis. Tell people first of all the names of your books so they can find them. But what else did Tom Brady's age show you?
Okay, well, first of all, you go to my website, which is daveseminara.com, where I talk about a couple of the new books that I have coming out. But one of them is about traveling in the footsteps of Roger Federer in Switzerland. And Roger is my all-time favorite athlete. Love Roger, and he's turning 40 this year. So, and he and Brady are friends too. Like after the Patriots won last night. Ooh, that was a low blow. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
after
we're still
the Bucks
hurting.
won last night, Federer tweeted out a picture of him and Brady together, which said, "Age is just a number." So I love that. The fact that he can still win at 43 bodes well for Roger. And I got to admit, too, I'm a Generation X guy. I know you're a millennial, so, I'm 48. So I just love seeing someone who's in our, sort of forgotten generation succeed, because I know you millennials, Grace, you guys are taking over the world, and especially the world of sports. So I love a 43-year-old guy succeeding. I mean, even if he is Tom Brady. And he did it against the Chiefs, who just decimated our hopes of getting to the Super Bowl. And they were very cocky, and they did a lot of trash talking and stuff like that when the Chiefs beat us. So there was just no way I was rooting for the Chiefs. No.
I'm going to read a little bit from your piece here. If people want to check it out, it's gracecurleyshow.com. But this was my favorite part. You said, I now find myself seeing Brady in a new light. I'm grateful that he spurred Bill Belichick and the Patriots. You go on to talk a little bit about the division. And he is 43, 5 years younger than me, and says he could play beyond 45. When his current contract expires. If he can do that, perhaps my all-time favorite athlete, Roger Federer, can do the same. Hell, perhaps I can, I don't know, walk briskly around the block after dinner for decades to come. High hopes there, Dave.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get carried away. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm so inspired by Brady that I'm going to go out there and run a marathon or something like that. But I do think you just have to be impressed by the guy. I mean, how does he keep doing this? No one in the world thought that he was going to win again when he signed with Tampa. I mean, people were kind of laughing about it, weren't they?
Yeah, no, they were.
All people saying in New England.
I specifically remember the day he announced it. And first, I was totally in denial. I did not think, there's 5 stages of grief. And I thought, no, there's just no way. And then I was like, Tampa? Ugh, why? And nothing against Tampa. I was just in a moment. And then I remember calling people and they were like, yeah, don't worry too much about it. I mean, he's so old at this point and, with COVID and everything else, who knows when he's actually going to play or if he'll get very far. And I have to say last night watching it, I was like, this is so cool because it feels like a million years ago he actually left the Patriots. But I think it was such a gutsy move. I was one of the people who said, why wouldn't you just end it with the Patriots? Like, why wouldn't you just end it on a high note? But I do think it's cool that he was like, no, I'm going to try something else. And age is just a number. So I totally agree with you on that. I do have to ask you, though, a little bit, because I know you write politically sometimes. What do you think about the wokeness of the Super Bowl last night? Were you impressed by the commercials or the halftime show or Bruce Springsteen or any of that or the mask wearing? What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Grace, because I heard you guys, first of all, just to say, I heard you and Howie last week talking about Nancy Armour's column attacking Tom Brady's white privilege in the USA Today last week.
Yes.
Oh, can I just say, too, that was just another reason to root for Tom Brady. And I can't even believe I'm saying those words. A year or two ago, if you told me that I'd be rooting for Tom Brady, I would have laughed in your face. But, Nancy Armour's talking about Tom Brady's white privilege. And if you haven't looked up her horrible column, don't give USA Today the click. Just find it elsewhere, like Fox News has covered it or whatever. But, I mean, all of these woke reporters, they hate him. They can't let that MAGA hat in the locker room go, even though it was 6 years ago. Regarding the wokeness of the actual game last night, answered your question, I have to be honest that I did not notice any of that because I only just watched the football, and for a lot of the commercials, I either muted them or took the opportunity to go get a snack or whatever. So I really only watched the football. So you'll have to fill me in on that.
Well, I do have to tell you that I saw one tweet, and I think it was an article from the Washington Post, and of course I can't find it right now, but it was wondering if we have to reconsider the name of the Buccaneers. Because it wasn't sure if talking about pirates is appropriate anymore.
Oh, God. Well, I did hear that there were a bus full of Native Americans who were protesting when the Chiefs arrived outside of their bus. And that really gets to me, too, because you don't name a sports team after something that you think is bad or weak or whatever. You're naming a sports team after a group or because it's something positive, right? I mean, who would name their sports team something negative? I think Chiefs is I think it's a positive thing because you name a sports team after someone who's brave or successful or whatever, right?
Right. And I think they've actually done polling amongst Native Americans, and they the greater majority of them think it's an honor or think it's cool that that there are names like that. But it's easier for the Karens to make their white guilt go away if they say, oh no, we have to rename them, the football team or whatever they're going to rename them. I did want to play you a little bit because I feel bad for you, Dave. You missed all this wokeness, and I just cannot let that stand. So I would like to play for you a little bit of Bruce Springsteen in his first ever commercial that was for Jeep. This is cut 12.
It's no secret. The middle has been a hard place to get to lately. Between red and blue, between servant and citizen, between our freedom and our fear.
And
God.
You know what, Dave? We're going to play the second half just for you. This is cut 13.
We can make it to the mountaintop, through the desert, and we will cross this divide. Our light has always found its way through the darkness. And there's hope on the road up ahead.
It's so self-indulgent. It's painful.
Oh, God. Did you do that to me just because the Bills beat the Patriots twice this year?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I had to punish you somehow. This is the best way I could come up with it. But I have to say, you just said that you never thought you'd be rooting for Tom Brady, right? And I was talking about this earlier in the show. I said, the left has a way of going so extreme and being so obnoxious about everything they stand for that it can turn you into fans of things that you were never a fan of. And an example, I never cared about the name Buccaneers. I never was a huge Pirates fan. I didn't watch Pirates of the Caribbean. But now that they're trying to cancel Pirates, guess what? I'm rooting for the Pirates.
Hey, guess what? I know probably a lot of your listeners aren't tennis fans or Roger Federer fans, but, Roger got attacked by Greta last year on Twitter. I don't know if you ever heard about that, but Greta Thunberg. And by the way, I love it when you guys do her How Dare You, when you throw that into your show.
How dare you?
Greta, thank you. Greta was harassing Roger on Twitter last year because he's endorsed by Credit Suisse. And, of course, she thinks that Credit Suisse is destroying the rainforest somewhere, I think, or something on those lines. And thankfully, Roger didn't buckle. He did not distance himself from Credit Suisse as they were demanding that he do. But yeah.
And that makes people bigger fans of, I can't tell you the amount of celebrities who it's not like they've come out and support Trump, but just certain things they've done. I've said, you know what? You seem like a normal person, and now I like you, even though before I wasn't the biggest fan. Guys, I'm talking to Dave Seminara. Dave, tell everyone your website one more time.
It's just my name, DaveSeminara.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Dave has a lot of good pieces, talks a lot about cancel culture, a lot about sports. Very fun to read. He's a funny guy, so make sure you check that out. We'll be back on the other side with another funny guy, Howard Lawrence Carr. Don't go anywhere. This is The Grace Curley Show.
The Grace Curley Show will be right back.
Everyone knows I love coffee and I'm not giving it up. I know that it would keep me up from time to time, but no longer with Balance 7. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid that you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. When it does this, you'll feel better, and me, I sleep better. Often I'm asked to try products and I can be very skeptical on their claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I didn't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wore on, because by sleeping better at night, it also gave me mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body. Balance 7 is also known for reducing acid reflux and heartburn as it did for the mailroom manager. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, you should give Balance 7 a try. Order the 8-ounce 12-pack supply at balance7.com. Put in code word Howie. You will save $10 and you'll also get free shipping. Balance7.com.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists.
No organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
You guys have heard me talk about super beats for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why super beats? You can take it from me. The benefits of super beats are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a super beat and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind super beats? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
Grace Curley. She's the cool kid at the lunch table.
I want a hamburger, no cheeseburger. I want a hot dog. I want a milkshake. I want potato chips. You'll get nothing and like it.
This is the Grace Curley Show.
Should former President Trump still receive intelligence briefings?
I think not.
Why not?
Because of his erratic behavior, unrelated to the insurrection.
Erratic behavior. You hate to see it. I'm not a fan of erratic behavior. Howie Carr is with us now. What's going on, Howie?
Nothing much. I'm just stockpiling all these. I wait till we reach critical mass, and then I just write another column of just transcribing Joe Biden's erratic behavior.
Well, if you're going to do that, Howie, we might as well play another one for your files. Cut 8, this is Biden talking about Trump in the intel briefings.
I mean, you've called him an existential threat. You've called him dangerous. You've called him reckless.
Yeah, I have, and I believe it.
What's your worst fear if he continues to get these intelligence briefings?
He's also called him a sexist.
I'd rather not speculate out loud. I just think that there is no need for him to have that intelligence briefing. What value is giving him an intelligence briefing? What impact does he have at all, other than the fact he might slip and say something?
I find this hilarious that they're so worried about him, jeopardizing our security. We didn't get into a war in the 4 years that Donald Trump was president. Have they forgotten that, Howie?
Did he say an intelligent briefing? He sounds like Mayor Mumbles Menino when he talks about that. Mayor Mumbles Menino used to talk about the intelligent unit of the Boston Police Department.
Well, if that isn't hilarious enough, hearing Joe Biden talk about Trump's need for the intelligence briefings, then Clapper talking about it will really make you want to pull your hair out. This is cut 9.
What's your fear if Donald Trump were to get intelligence briefings still?
Well, I think he's demonstrated a disdain for both the substance of intelligence as well as its protection. He's used it on occasion, weaponized it against political opponents.
Howie, am I crazy?
Again, projection.
They have no
Pot
shame.
calls kettle black.
These are the people who tried to orchestrate a coup to overthrow the duly elected president, and they're on TV with straight faces saying that Trump is a danger.
I know. And the other thing, and the thing about Clapper is, he is even dumber than Brennan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think Brennan rises almost to the level of average intelligence. Clapper comes nowhere close to average intelligence. He's a boob. It's scary to think that he was a 3-star general in the Air Force.
It really is, and I love the fact that now they're really pushing this because they never really got held accountable for their failed coup, Howie, and so they're back and they're bolder than ever before. This is Clapper cut 10.
Potential financial entanglements, his debt, which to a normal person would be a real red flag for an adjudicator, somebody deciding on whether someone should have access to classified information. So for all those reasons, I think this is absolutely the right decision.
Absolutely the right decision. I mean, it's funny how
nothing like those adjudicators.
They're so addicted to Trump, though. All these networks are still, all they do is talk about Trump all day long. And when they're not talking about Trump, they're talking about how much they hate Tom Brady because he likes Donald Trump.
He doesn't wear a mask.
I know.
I was thinking, when I saw that thing, they're mad at him for not wearing a mask. Did you notice when they had the cutaways to Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks?
With Roger Goodell?
He had to sit next to Roger Goodell.
Ugh, I know.
I mean, that's enough to make you start thinking suicidal thoughts 3 hours next to Roger Goodell under the best of circumstances. But then they put a mask on his face. You can't really tell all that much when you can't see somebody's mouth, but didn't Russell Wilson look incredibly miserable?
He looked, I really did notice the same thing, Howie. His eyes looked glazed over, like he was staring into the abyss. He wanted out of that box. I don't care how much free popcorn that was. He wanted out. Howie, did you change your mind at all once you saw Tom Brady without his mask on and all these people losing their minds? And maybe it wasn't so bad after all?
I still, Charlotte works for a branch of the Hunt family. I was rooting for the Chiefs because of her, but I'm not unhappy that he won. But the other thing, Grace, it was like the Patriots days with the refs being on their side. At first, I thought I'm the only one who's paranoid about this. These calls are all going against the Chiefs. But then I saw that Patrick Mahomes' mother, Travis Kelce's girlfriend, they were saying the same thing. I think everybody, it looked like the fix was in all over again. I mean, I know that the the Bucks were going to win anyway, but it would have been a lot closer game if the refs hadn't been throwing the flag every time they needed every time there was fourth down for the Bucks.
Now, Howie, I know you don't want to talk about football too much. Who do you got on your show later today?
We got Paris Denard. He's one of the he's good. We're just going to dump on the impeachment trial, I think, and then we've got some new stuff on the Undersecretary of Climate Science.
All right. Thank you, Howie Carr. Guys, this has been the Grace Curley Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with another jam-packed show. Make sure you tune in for Howie. He's coming up next.
I don't mean to brag, but I'm a great gift giver. My problem, though, is that I always forget about Valentine's Day. Thankfully, the Howie Carr Show has great sponsors that have me covered this February 14th, and they can help you out, too. Flowers are a must, so I'm going to order a beautiful bouquet of roses through 1-800-Flowers. Just going to go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click microphone, enter code Howie, and take advantage of these discounts. Ooh, I can even double my order for even more savings, so she'll love that. Let's see, what else? Ooh, I bought her some new earrings for Christmas. The Kathy Ireland Gem Spa is perfect for keeping those as stunning as they were in the display case. MyGemSpa.com, and code word GRACE gets me 20% off. Nice. What else? Ooh, candles. I know Old New England Soap has those Woodwick soy candles to keep the house smelling fresh. OldNESoap.com. Oh, wow, they have a lot of candles and soaps to choose from. This